Hello guys, it's Toby here from the Small Biz Academy. In this training, I'm going to go through exactly what you need to say and do when you're interviewing for potential new team members for your business. Building your team is vital for you to be successful, so you need to get good at this, but no one really teaches you how to do it. So in this training, I'm going to show you exactly what you should do, what I do, and what my clients do. So let's get into it. I have completed thousands of interviews over the last 20 years or so, and I've developed a system that helps get the best result possible when you're recruiting team members for your small business. Now, nothing's foolproof, and you have to move quickly in the induction process if things don't work out, but this helps to weed out the people that aren't suitable and helps you identify the people that are more suitable. Now, I've had some interviews over that time which have been complete disasters. I've had others that have been really good, and everything in between. It's quite, when you're dealing with people, it's quite interesting and very challenging. People are very different and they come up with some very strange answers to questions sometimes, which is great because that means you can weed them out and you don't need to employ them. But it can be an interesting and time-consuming thing, interviewing. But it's important to do it. If you think about it, when you're employing somebody, you're paying them 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 100K. It's a massive purchase that you're making for your business, a massive investment. So you do want to go through the process of checking that investment out and doing everything you can to make sure you make a good investment. As I'm sure you would have experienced, or a lot of you have experienced, how bad and how expensive a bad employee can be for your business. And the difference when you get the right employee is the difference between night and day. And there's a great quote by Jim Collins, who's an author of many books, but one of the better ones is Good to Great, where he looks at what makes businesses successful. He quotes that you're limited by the number of good people you can get. So even in your small business, you need good people around you to move forward. It's absolutely vital. And in 20 years of doing this, I know it's the hardest thing to do is to build that team and have that team that can run the business so you don't have to. So learning the skills on how to interview is vital in that process. So let's go through it and I'll show you what I do in the interview process. Okay, well, let's get into what you actually need to do in the interview process. Another quote by Jim Collins is talking about your business as a bus, and says you want to get the right people in the right seats and get the wrong people off the bus. That's what we're trying to do when we're building the team. Here you're now interviewing people as they come in to see if you want them to get on your bus and see if they fit the seat we're advertising for. There are 5 steps to this recruitment process. You can get this whole training module if you join the Business Academy. Shameless plug, I know. You join that, you can get a whole copy of this. But we're going to focus on 2 of them. And this interviewing. And there's 2 parts to the interview process that I go through. One is the phone interview, and the other then is the face-to-face interview. Now, I won't always do it. It depends on how high a level role you're applying for, how much detail you go into. I probably would always do a phone interview. I probably would always do a phone interview. And if it's a lower levels job, I'd still probably talk to them on the phone. And the phone interview should only be 10, 15 minutes, no longer than that. And what you're doing is once you've shortlisted your applicants, you pick the ones you want to talk to on the phone. I would then contact them and arrange a time that you're going to call them. And always do that because you don't really want to catch them off guard and just do it on the hop, because they won't perform very well. You want to set them up to win. So I always book in a time, and I'll probably message them, probably text them nowadays, and just book in a time to have a quick phone chat. Now there's 2 key questions I ask in the phone interview. One was, what was it about this role that attracted you to it? So that should tell you how much they think they fit the role after they've read the job ad. So that tells you how committed they are or what a good match they are. Then I would ask, why are you looking to leave your current role? So I definitely ask those two questions. And sometimes people are very honest and they say, oh, my boss is an idiot, I've fallen out with him. Uh-oh, red flag from the interviewing process. Or, why are you applying for this role? It's nearer my home. I want to get home quicker. And you're like, okay, all right, doesn't sound very keen. So you want to find, the ideal answer is, I read the ad and it sounds just like me. I know your company, I really want to work with you guys. And that's what you're looking for in that phone interview. So at that point, then I would select from the phone interview who then you're going to get to a face-to-face interview. So when you do a face-to-face interview, this would be different depending on the level of the role. If it's a lower level role, you may do a quick interview and get them in for a trial shift or two, because you're going to learn a lot more from them actually doing the job than you are on the interviews. Interviews can only go so far, and some people are good at interviews and some people aren't. But it does come down to your skills as an interviewer to get them out there. But if it's a low level task, I would probably do a 15-minute interview, a 20-minute interview, get them in on a trial session to see and have a look at what they're all about. If it's a high level task, then obviously I would interview them for longer. And this is the kind of process I follow from an interviewing process. One of the mistakes I see people make, business owners make, is sometimes they get people in an interview and they just talk. They just talk about how great their company is, what the role is, and they've not asked the candidate any questions. So at the end, we know nothing new about that candidate. You want to be the one asking the questions, not the one talking. It's a bit like a sales meeting. And you want a kind of a pathway or an agenda that you follow. And the agenda that I always follow is first and foremost, get them in, do a tour. Do a tour of your facility. This is a good chance to start striking up a bit of a chat, making them feel comfortable. So when you do sit down and do the one-on-one, they open up more. And also they might tell you a bit more when you're walking around than before. And you can also see how interested they are. I remember one client, he did that. We were looking, who was it? He was an estimator, I think, or drafty. So they were a builder that I was working with. And he walked around and go, where's my desk? What's going to be my desk on the tour? When he looked at the desk, he literally turned his nose up at it. And that was it. The interview's over. We knew you're not the right man. You're ego-driven. You want power. This is not what this company is about. You do not fit the values of this company. Then I would get them sat down and start the official interviewing process. And the first thing I'd do is get them to go through their career or go through their resume with them. And the idea being is what you're trying to find is, have they done what we need before and have they done it well? Because if somebody, to judge, the best way of judging future performance is looking at past performance. So you want to say, okay, let's see if they've done this before. Let's ask them questions, things like, okay, tell me a bit about this role. What did you achieve? What did you do well? Who was your manager at the time? Dig in a bit deeper to find out what they've done. Ask technical questions if need be to work out if they got the technical knowledge. But go through their resume and go through what they've been doing in their career. I would then ask about their personal life. So this is the first part. It's all about them. And try and work out what their future goals are, what their personal situation is. So they're married, kids, mortgage, renting, living locally, far away, and what their future plans are. So I would often ask, okay, where would you like to be in 3 years' time? That depends on the level of the role. Sometimes if you're asking somebody who's just sitting at the end of a production line where they want to be in 3 years' time, they'll just look at you as though you're an alien. But others will tell you, I want to start my own business doing what you're doing. Okay, well, we won't recruit you here then, because we don't want you to do that with our customer base. So it is amazing what people will tell you. But you're trying to get an idea of where they are in their personal lives, what's going on for their future. And you're looking for that fit. You're looking for that fit for the role. I would then talk about your values and your vision for the business. So I'd ask them, what do you know about the business? What have you found when you've looked into it? Now, the ideal candidate would have researched the website. You should be sending them your values and your vision, and you should have that on your website as well, and you should be sending them a position description for the role. So you'll want to find out first and foremost, have they done their homework? Have they reviewed your website? Have they reviewed your values? Do they know your products or services? How much have they looked into it? Because the more they've done, the more they feel like there's a match and the more they want to work there. You're not just another interview that they're just going to. You're the one that they want. So that would be a better match. Then I would ask them what some of the values mean to them. So what we're looking for in an ideal scenario is someone who's got similar values to the business. So they fit into the values of the business. So then you'd ask them, what does this value mean to you? What does this value mean to you? What do you think when you read this? You want to find out if they understand it, if there's somebody that you look at and go, yeah, you've got good values that match the business. By this point in your head as you're interviewing them, you should know, okay, this is a good one or not. Because here they've done the sales of selling them, and you've got that out of them by asking questions and following that process. By this point though, you go, yeah, this is a good one, I want them to come on board. Then you switch around and now you're starting to sell the role to them. So I would go through the role with them and I would tell them exactly what it is, warts and all. And I would say to them, look, I want to make sure you know exactly what you're getting into. I don't want you to take the role and come in thinking it's one thing and realise it's not. So if you've not got the right systems and processes in place or things aren't as smooth running at the moment, I would tell them. I've been in the recruitment process at this stage trying to talk people out of the role for making them realise how hard it's going to be, because I want them to see if they'll fight for it. I want to see if they're the right person that will fight for it. So you want to tell them what's going on, warts and all. It's really important you do that, because you want them to deselect themselves if they're not interested in the role. But I'll go through the role, I'll go through the day-to-day, what they're going to do, week to week, what they're going to do, how we're going to manage them, how we know what good performance is, what they're going to get, not pay. We haven't talked about pay yet. Then at the end of that, once they're clear on what the role is, I would ask them, is this something you'd be interested in? So from a sales point of view, this is a trial close. And also from a recruitment point of view, we want them to commit verbally before we start talking about money. So at that point, most people say yes. Actually, I don't know if anyone has said no, but it's how they say yes that's important and how keen they are. Once they've said yes, then I would talk about money and I would put it back on them. So I'd ask the question, well, how much are you on now? Not how much you want, how much are you on now? And then they usually get a bit uncomfortable, but shut up, don't talk. Just let them tell you what it is they're looking for and get the number out of them. Now, you may have had a preliminary conversation about that. It may be on the ad as a bracket. So it depends how much you've had that conversation already. But you want to find out what they want. And then you can talk about whether, okay, that's acceptable or not. I never offer them the role in the interview, not unless there's a group of us in there and we think this person is amazing. We might push it then. Sometimes it's hard to get that message across when you're in an interview. We set up codes before with clients where if it's a goer, shut your folder, and then halfway through I think, yeah, this is a goer, but I forget to shut my folder. so it's sending those messages to one another. You might do it there and then, but most of the time I don't. And most of the time you want them to go away, because why they said yes, they might not mean yes. So they might still deselect themselves. So yeah, I would do that, and then at the end of it, I would say, look, we've got a few more interviews to do. We're going to make a decision after that. Give them a timeline and say, we'll come back to you after that. Obviously, ask them if they have any other questions. So that's the process I follow. And depending on the level of the role, whether you go faster or slower. One thing I will add to that, though, is sometimes it's very disappointing when you get through that interview process, you make an offer to somebody and they turn it down. Now, I understand that disappointment, because you wouldn't have made an offer to them if you didn't think they were good. But in reality, they're deselecting themselves for a reason. We don't know what that reason is, but it means they probably wouldn't have worked out. So it's better to know that now rather than to have to change it later on. So stick in there and don't be disappointed if that happens. But that's what I do in the interview process. I hope that you found that useful in planning your interview. If you want any help with this, then by all means you can contact me in the description below, or if you've got questions, then add a comment below as well. And if you want more training like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out some of the other videos. And I look forward to talking to you again soon. Cheers.